They say fortune favors the bold, but in the age of pirates, fortune was a cruel mistress. For every tale of buried gold and untold riches, there are 10 more stories of betrayal, shipwrecks, and curses that left entire crews penniless or worse. Because behind every legendary treasure map was a man who risked everything and lost it all trying to claim the sea's most elusive prize. In this episode, we're diving into the real stories of pirates whose treasure hunts didn't end with gold, but with ruin. From cryptic codes to vanishing hoards, these are the men who chased legends and paid the ultimate price for it. If you love uncovering the dark side of history and the hidden truths behind pirate legends, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell, because this channel is where myths meet reality on the high seas. Now, let's set sail for the stories of pirates who lost everything. Chapter 1. The reality behind the legend. Let's start with a myth that refuses to die. The idea that pirates buried their treasure. Movies made it famous, novels romanticized it, and pop culture turned it into gospel. But here's the truth. Pirates rarely buried treasure at all. Most of them spent it immediately on rum, weapons, bribes, and the kind of chaos that made them legends. Gold and silver were hard to hide, and trust was rare among thieves. If you buried your treasure, odds were someone else would dig it up the moment you turned your back. The entire idea of buried treasure really came from one story: Captain William Kidd, a man whose supposed hidden hoard in the Caribbean sparked centuries of speculation. But as we'll soon see, Kidd's story wasn't one of triumph. It was a masterclass in how to lose everything. Before we get to him, though, we need to understand why treasure itself became the pirate's curse, not the reward. Chapter 2. The rise of the treasure myth. Treasure wasn't just gold or silver, it was hope. In an era where sailors were exploited, underpaid, and constantly at risk of disease or drowning, piracy offered something intoxicating: the promise of freedom and fortune. But that dream twisted fast. The golden age of piracy, from 1650 to 1730, was built on desperation. Crews defected from navies, merchants turned rogue, and men who had nothing gambled it all for a shot at something more. And like any high-stakes gamble, most of them lost. They plundered ships loaded with gold, Spanish galleons, East India vessels, but they could never keep it for long. Governments hunted them, storms devoured their ships, and betrayal was as common as cannon fire. Still, rumors of hidden caches spread like wildfire. Whispers of the cursed treasure of Captain Flint or the lost gold of Madagascar fueled countless searches that continue even today. It was a self-sustaining legend. Every failure only made the myth stronger. And perhaps no name fed that legend more than the man accused of burying one of history's greatest lost fortunes, Captain William Kidd. Chapter 3. Captain William Kidd, the fall of a treasure hunter. William Kidd wasn't your typical cutthroat. He started as a privateer, a legal pirate hired by the English crown to hunt enemy ships. But somewhere along the line, things went wrong. In 1698, Kidd captured the Quedagh Merchant, an Indian ship carrying a fortune in silk, gold, and jewels. He thought he was still playing by the rules, but the world saw a pirate. His sponsors turned on him. Newspapers called him a traitor, and soon a global manhunt began. Desperate to clear his name, Kidd buried parts of his treasure, hoping it would prove he hadn't stolen for himself. But instead of redemption, it became a curse. The buried treasure became evidence of guilt. He was captured, sent to England, and executed in 1701. The treasure never fully recovered. Centuries later, explorers have found fragments, coins, relics, a shipwreck off Madagascar rumored to be his, but the true hoard remains missing. Captain Kidd's name became synonymous with hidden gold, but in truth, his treasure wasn't buried wealth, it was buried reputation. And if Kidd's downfall was a tragedy, our next pirate's story was a riddle, one that continues to taunt treasure hunters even today. Chapter 4. Olivier Levasseur, La Bouze, and the Cursed Cipher. They called him La Bouze, the Buzzard. Olivier Levasseur was a French pirate who terrorized the Indian Ocean in the early 1700s, striking ships with terrifying speed and precision. His most famous heist came in 1721, the capture of the Portuguese galleon Nossa Senhora de Cabo. It carried diamonds, gold, and religious relics, an unimaginable fortune worth hundreds of millions in today's value. But Levasseur's real legend began when he was caught and sentenced to death. As he stood at the gallows, he reportedly threw a necklace into the crowd, one that contained a cryptic, coded message. "Find my treasure, ye who can," he shouted. That single phrase ignited centuries of obsession. The cipher, a 17-line cryptogram, supposedly points to where he buried his loot on the island of Mahé in the Seychelles. Dozens of adventurers have searched for it. None have succeeded. Even modern cryptographers have failed to decode it completely. Some say the treasure is cursed. Others believe it was found long ago and kept secret. But for Levasseur, it didn't matter. His code became his legacy. He lost his life, and perhaps his gold, but he gained immortality through mystery. And while his treasure might never be found, it's another example of how the promise of wealth led to ruin. But not all treasure was lost to betrayal or codes. Some was swallowed whole by the ocean itself. Chapter 5, The Whydah Galley, The Fortune That Sank. If there's one story that captures how quickly fortune turns to tragedy, it's the Whydah Galley. This was a real pirate ship commanded by Samuel Black Sam Bellamy, often called the Robin Hood of the seas. In 1717, Bellamy had everything. He'd captured over 50 ships in just over a year and amassed a fortune beyond imagination: gold, ivory, indigo, and silver from across the Atlantic. But as his fleet sailed near Cape Cod, a sudden storm struck. Winds over 70 miles per hour slammed into the Whydah, tearing it apart. The ship capsized and vanished beneath the waves, taking Bellamy and more than 140 men with it. All that gold, gone in seconds. For centuries, the wreck was considered myth, until 1984, when treasure hunter Barry Clifford discovered the remains off the Massachusetts coast. It became the first authenticated pirate ship ever found. But even that discovery revealed something tragic. Most of the loot was unrecoverable, destroyed, or scattered. Bellamy's fortune literally dissolved into the sea. His dream of freedom and wealth ended in one violent storm, proving that nature could destroy even the mightiest of men. And yet, this obsession with finding what pirates lost didn't die with them. In fact, it's stronger now than ever. Chapter 6. The Modern Treasure Hunter's Obsession Never Dies. Centuries later, people are still chasing pirate treasure. From metal detectors on Caribbean beaches to multi-million-dollar expeditions, the myth of hidden gold remains alive and costly. One example is the endless search for Oak Island's Money Pit in Nova Scotia, rumored to hold pirate treasure, possibly even Captain Kidd's. Hundreds of diggers, investors, and treasure hunters have tried to unearth it. Many went bankrupt, some lost their lives, and yet they keep digging because the legend never fades. The same pattern repeats across the world. Claims of lost hoards in Madagascar, Mauritius, even Florida's reefs. Each new rumor fuels hope. Each failure deepens the mystery. But what drives this endless pursuit? It's not just greed. It's the idea that somewhere out there, a forgotten fortune waits for the one person, brave or foolish, enough to find it. The irony, of course, is that in chasing the same dreams as those pirates, modern treasure hunters often repeat their mistakes, risking everything and sometimes losing it all. Chapter 7. The Real Cost of Treasure. When you strip away the gold, what's left is human desperation. Piracy was never truly about treasure. It was about freedom, revenge, survival. The coins were just symbols of rebellion against a world that gave these men no chance to win honestly. Yet the price they paid was steep. Broken alliances, shattered dreams, lost lives. For every chest of gold that might still lie beneath the sand, there are hundreds of nameless graves, men who gambled their souls against the sea and lost. The myth of pirate treasure endures because it speaks to something universal. the desire to take a shortcut to fortune, to cheat fate, to live large before the storm hits. But like all great myths, it hides a warning. Not every treasure is meant to be found. And sometimes, the real curse isn't in the gold. It's in the obsession to chase it. Conclusion: what the ocean keeps. So next time you hear about a lost pirate treasure, remember this: most of those fortunes never existed. The ones that did were claimed by the sea, betrayal, or time itself. What remains isn't gold, it's legend. Stories of ambition, failure, and the haunting pull of what might still lie out there, waiting. Because the ocean doesn't give back what it takes. It buries greed, glory, and guilt in the same deep blue grave. If you enjoyed this dive into the real stories behind pirate legends, make sure to subscribe and join us for more forgotten tales from the edge of history, where truth is stranger than fiction and fortune always comes with a price. And remember, not every treasure is buried in gold. Some are buried in the mistakes of the men who sought it.